Greetings, Phil, Paul, and Adrian back at Green Share Homestead. We're going to do a video here on what we did to go off-grid and then how that's been working out for us.
It'll be a little long, so beware.
Yeah, we're going to throw a lot of information at you. Hopefully this will help you out. We do have a fully modern house with all the normal appliances that any house would have. In fact, we have 2 refrigerators and 2 freezers. And then another load that we would have that the average house wouldn't have would then be a well. We have a cistern and a well. Both of those have a jet pump in them, and those use a lot of power. It takes a lot of power to move water. So that's part of the reason that we've gone off grid, is there's no water lines where we live, and if we don't have electricity, then we don't have water. And you know, that's kind of a big deal to not have either. So what I would recommend, what we did, and it worked very well, is if you have access to the grid, before going off grid, run grid-tied solar. I would recommend doing it for a year. We ended up doing it for 5. I didn't mean to, but you know, building a house and other infrastructure, it just got a little away from us. But I did a lot of research through that time period on inverters and batteries and the different things associated with those. And the reason I would recommend going grid tied is you kind of need to retrain yourself, and then that will also give you a very clear perspective of how much power you use in a 24-hour period, and then how much power you use during the different seasons of the year. I read the meter every single day, and I read it at the same time every day when I would let the chickens out. I just got in a routine, and I logged the meter readings on sheets of paper. So, you know, I can go back through all those years and look and see how much power did we use on the 4th of July, how much power did we use on Christmas Day. You know, I can look at that stuff. I can see how much power the solar panels gave us. I can see how much power we used. So that gave me an idea of what size inverter we were going to need, and then, of course, how much storage we were going to need. Now, if you were to do that, I would recommend, if you live in snow country, put the solar panels on the ground, because you're going to need to keep the snow swept off if you're planning on being off grid.
It won't hurt them, but you won't get power.
Right. You might as well throw a tarp over them. So you got to keep that snow cleaned off. And then the other thing I would recommend is if you're going to be grid tied, you do have to bring in professional electricians. They must be certified electricians. The power company whose grid you're hooking up to will require that. You don't have a choice. And they will have to come out and inspect it before you can throw the switch. But let those people that are doing the installation know that you're intending to go off grid, so you need a hybrid inverter. Otherwise, they're going to put a grid-tied inverter on there, and those are about $4 grand, and then you're just going to have to scrap that when you want to go off grid.
I wish that was something we would have done.
Yeah, I wish somebody would have told us that. I didn't think about it. But the only thing is, you're not going to know exactly what size inverter you're going to need, but so I would go with either the biggest one you can get, or 2 good quality medium-sized ones, such as, you know, a 15K Solarc like we have, or maybe 2 12K Solarcs. You know, the smaller inverters don't cost quite as much, and you can run those in parallel and, you know, build a bigger system that way. So when I was reading those sheets, figuring out how much power are we using from the grid, you know, we were using quite a bit. And I thought, you know, we're going to have way too much storage. So I knew we needed to tone it down, and we got really hyper vigilant about when we were running loads and what loads we were running, and we were kind of monitoring each other, and, you know,
him more than me,
talking about it at supper and the different things, and it got a little crazy. But in that craziness, we really got good at controlling our power usage without even thinking about it. We got it weaned down to where we were using 7 to 9 kilowatts in a day, and the average house uses 30. So I mean, we had really reined it back, and but we didn't feel like we were really doing anything odd, because we just got used to it. And a lot of that had to do with the time of day that we were running these loads. You need to run your heavy loads during the peak time of day with your solar, which is between 10 and 2.
Which is a hard concept, because that's not something I grew up with.
Yeah.
Appliances the afternoon off was
right.
You know.
but now she knows when she's going to do laundry, she knows, she's thinking in her head, you know, it's not even something she thinks about. She just knows, I need to have those clothes in the dryer sometime, you know, between, you know, by 10 o'clock, you know. And then especially like yesterday, she did 3 loads of laundry. So she's got to plan ahead to make sure that that 3rd load of laundry is still going in there at that peak time. And then she also ran the dishwasher, and you know, she did all that at the same time. So the solar panels were able to run all those loads. We weren't pulling the power out of the batteries, it was just the solar panels. The what do you do with the washing machine?
I set the washing machine at tap cold so the water heater doesn't kick on.
You see, it's things like that, little things like that, that are going to make a big difference, because the water heater in this house is the biggest load. It pulls the most amount of power at one given time. So by her putting the clothes in cold water, that saves that power coming out of the water heater. Now with the dishwasher, that's not, you can't do that because it's going to use hot water, you know, washing the dishes. So you know, that's an important thing to consider. The other big load that we have in the house is the air conditioning. We do have conventional heating and air. We do not use the heater. Okay, it's all, you know, one system. So the HVAC system is one system, but we haven't used the heater in this house in 3 years. It's 100% that indoor wood stove sitting right over there. That's the only way we heat this house. But we do run the conventional air conditioning, but that's not a big deal because the air conditioning is on in the summertime when the sun is at its optimal. So the solar array is running the air conditioner, and we don't run it at night. You know, that's the one thing. What I do is I turn the air conditioner down to 76 degrees, because you know my honey does.
76 is a little cold if
she
you ask me,
thinks that's
but,
cold.
you know.
So I run it at 76 degrees all day long, which for me is, you know, that's fantastic. And then as the sun starts getting lower in the sky, I will raise that 1 degree until it reaches 80. And then at 80, I don't go any higher than that. And then once the sun is set and things start to cool off, I turn the air conditioner off. We don't run it at night at all. And so, yeah, when we get in bed, it's 80 degrees in the house.
Which I don't think is terrible.
Yeah, but some of you are going to freak out about that. Yeah. But we have a ceiling fan over the bed, and that takes care of the problem. I just turn that thing on high, and it runs all night. So we got a nice breeze, and with a nice breeze at 80 degrees, it's not that bad. You know, that probably cools it down quite a little bit. But ceiling fans don't use a lot of power, so it's not a big deal. And then the thing with the load management, of course, is if it's going to be a cloudy day, you're not going to run those big loads. And you know that's something you do need to keep an eye on the weather so that you know what's coming at you. So if she knows she's got 3 days of clouds coming in a couple days, she needs to get those heavy loads run. So she might run half a load in the dishwasher and do half a load in the washing machine, just so that, you know, the dishwasher doesn't get overfull during those cloudy days. And you know, that's just the kind of thing that you need to think ahead about. But I can look at those sheets that I kept when I did that log. I can look at those sheets and I know, you know, this is October. And in October, we're going to take in 32 kilowatts of power on a sunny or partly cloudy day. That's the amount of power we're going to bring in. Now, I also know that because I go down every evening and I read that Solark to see how much power did we bring in today, or how much power did we use today. And the Solark will tell me how many kilowatts ran through it that day. And on average, we're using 15 to 17 kilowatts. On a good day, we'll use 12. On a bad day, we'll use 19, because she used 19 yesterday, doing 3 loads of laundry and running the dishwasher. But we're still leaving a whole bunch of power on the table because we're only using half of what that solar array can put out. You know, so you know, you think, well, why would you put in such a big solar array? Is because on the bad days we still need to bring in that power. So on the cloudy days we're still bringing in quite a bit of power because our array is so much bigger than what we need. And of course in the wintertime that's going to become an issue as well, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But the batteries, we have the EG4LL version 2 batteries, and we have the 6 batteries in the cabinet that you know, you can buy through EG4. We got the R3 Signature Solar down in Texas, and I like that battery cabinet because of the bus bars. I just bolt everything up to those bus bars, and then that efficiently feeds current to all of the batteries efficiently at the same time and at the same rate. And I go down there and I check those batteries at least once a day. And the voltages in those batteries is all within tolerance of where it should be. And then I also read it in the morning. I want to know how much power did we use over the night time. And it's generally between 80 and 85% at state of charge. So we're only using 5 or 6 kilowatts of power from the time the sun sets to the time the sun comes up. And that's really pretty good. One of the reasons for that is because I take cold showers.
I don't.
And I don't want her to. But I shower at night. She doesn't. She showers in the morning, I shower at night.
Nope.
And by showering at night, if I were to take a warm shower, then the water heater is going to kick on, and the water heater is going to pull a lot of power out of my batteries. The batteries can do it. It's not an issue, but I don't want them to, because there's going to be those times of year, like in the winter and on extended cloud cover days, throughout the year, where the batteries are going to drop down a little more. And so I want to be used to and stay used to taking a cold shower. So for almost 2 years now, I've been taking cold showers, just getting ready for the off-grid. And now, even if we were to stay at a hotel, I would still take a cold shower. I prefer cold showers. If you get used to them, they're actually much better, and they're better for you.
They're supposed to be healthy.
It's very refreshing. But so by thinking ahead and using the sun to run your loads, we're only using 5 or 6 kilowatts at night. So what happens is, in the morning when the sun comes up and it starts hitting the solar array, the solar knows it wants those batteries full, and it knows what the voltage should be in that battery rack. So it's sending all the power it can at the batteries. And first thing it's going to do is run the loads, and the second thing it's going to do is charge the batteries with whatever's left over. So it has to take 5 or 6 kilowatts of power from the solar array to put it into the batteries. And then during the day, the batteries are going to send a little bit of power out here and there just to assist the solar. And so it's going to use 2 or 3 kilowatts throughout the day to top the batteries off. So the batteries are full going into sundown. And that's exactly what you want to see. Well, the difference between what the Solarc is doing to bring the batteries full and keep them full, and the amount we're using, we're only using 8 to 10 kilowatts of power to run the loads during the day. We were using 7 to 9 when we were grid tied. Now we're using 8 to 10. So we're actually using more power off grid than we used when we were on grid.
Not a whole lot, but
no, but a little bit. And the reason for that is because we don't need to be hyper vigilant now about how many credits we're building up, or reining ourselves in preparation for off grid. We are off grid, and we're living very, very comfortably without having to get crazy. The solar that we have is the 15K, and I went back and forth with Schneider and Victron and Solarc, and the poor thing, she got so tired.
He really went over it a lot.
Gosh, that's all I talked about.
I know a lot.
Yeah, she's pretty well educated. And I did the same thing with batteries, Simplify and EG4 and SOK, Trophy, and there's a lot of equipment out there, and you need to do your research. But the Solarc 15K, it doesn't just put out 15K into the breaker panel. You're putting out half of it. So you got 7,500 watts to each leg of the breaker panel. And you can't exceed that, or you will shut it down. And we had that happen one time. It was hot, so the air conditioner was running. She got in the shower, took a shower, the water heater kicked on. And when she got out of the shower, water heater stays on for a while, heating that water up. She fired up her hairdryer. And I don't know if the fridges and the freezers were on or other loads were running, but those 3 loads right there, when she turned that hairdryer on, boom, power went off. I was on the computer and I yelled, what happened? She said, I turned on the hairdryer. Well, I already know the air conditioner was running, and I know the Solar's going to reboot very quickly and try and run again. So I turned the air conditioner off, the Solarc rebooted, the loads were within tolerance of the 7,500 watts, so bam, we were back up and running. It doesn't do damage to the inverter, the batteries, or any appliance. There's no big deal. Everything the only problem is you got to run around the house and reset all the clocks. That's it. That's the only issue with it. So now, if the air conditioner is running, she takes a shower. She knows she has to turn the air conditioner off before she fires up the air dryer. Just a little insignificant thing. It's not a lifestyle change. It's just a little thing, and we both know that now. So that's the kind of thing.
Not a big deal, but you have to use your head.
Now, the Solarc will send the 7,500 watts into the breaker panel. The battery rack can only send 6,000 watts to each side. It'll send 12,000 watts. So once the sun goes down, you're limited to 6,000 watts per leg of the breaker panel with the EG4 battery rack and the Solar 15K. So that's a little something, you know, you needed to know as well. And then the winter time is, you know, that's the time of year people worry about. In the winter, we are still taking in, because I can review my sheets, 20 to 25 kilowatts on a sunny to partly cloudy day. An average day like that, we're still exceeding the amount of power that we use by quite a little bit. You're going to use a little more power in the wintertime because the sun's going to set sooner, so your lamps are going to come on a little sooner. You're going to watch TV a little sooner because you're not outside cutting grass or working in the garden. So you're going to have a little more downtime, so you're going to have the computer, the TV, these different things running sooner. But it's not a big deal. The big deal is going to be the cloud cover. If you live in the Midwest or in areas where you have long stretches of heavy clouds, you're going to take in a minimum amount of solar. On those heavy cloud cover days, we might only take in 3 to 5 kilowatts. So the thing that where we're fortunate in the Midwest is when we're having heavy cloud cover days or snow days, the wind is usually blowing pretty good. I mean, you know, 25, 30 mile an hour winds are not uncommon. Which is good when you have a turbine. You know, it's a bitch when you're out in it because it's 15 degrees out and you're dealing with a 30 mile an hour wind. It kind of sucks, you know, but that turbine should be spinning on those types of days. And the only thing that turbine does is the cable runs from the turbine into a Midnight Classic charge controller, and then from there it bolts up to the bus bars. So it'll feed the batteries all equally through the bus bars, and that's all it does. It doesn't run loads. So this winter, that's, you know, we're going to see how that goes, and I'll have a video out on that. But in the event that there's some problem where the turbine's not keeping up with the amount of power that we need to put into the batteries to charge them up, or it's not a windy enough day, we have what's called the EG4 charge inverter, and she knows all about that too, because when that thing hit the shelves, I got excited. That thing's a game changer. And I told her, I said, we're pulling the plug on this off-grid thing because that just made the difference. I've got a 13K Cummins whole house generator, and it's plumbed up to the propane tank. The only other appliance in this house that's not on electric is our range. We cook with gas.
I can't cook on electric.
And I wouldn't have an electric range going off-grid. I don't like the idea. We got 500 gallons of propane out there, and all I have to do is fire that generator up, plug a charge inverter into it, and it's already bolted up to the bus bars in that battery rack. And in 2 hours, I can raise the state of charge of that battery rack 20%.
It's not very expensive because it was $1.50 a gallon for the propane.
Yeah, so in 2 hours, I'm going to burn 2 gallons of propane, so that's $3. And I can raise the batteries from 70% state of charge to 90% state of charge in 2 hours. That's a game changer. That is a big deal because we can run for 24 hours running, you know, average loads with that, just running that charge inverter for 2 hours. And if she comes to me in January and says, look, we're going to have clouds for the next 3 days and I have to do a load of laundry or I have to run the dishwasher, I can just go down there, fire that generator up, fire up the charge inverter, and the charge inverter will run that load and charge the batteries at the same time. It's just whatever power is left over after it's done running, you know, while it's running a load will be going into the batteries, and as soon as that load shuts off, 100% of the power it's putting out will go into the batteries. So that, you know, that's why I say, you know, we've got this covered between the turbine and that EG4 charge inverter. Winter's not going to be a problem for us. And then the other issue with winter is Christmas. I want to throw this out there because your Christmas lights on your house and your tree are probably incandescent bulbs. Most of them are. You can't run those at nighttime for any length of time because incandescent bulbs suck power like a water heater does. I mean, they got to get hot to heat up and glow. You need to unscrew all those bulbs and buy LED bulbs and screw the LED bulbs. You don't need to buy new wires. Just screw the LED bulbs right in the same outlet where the incandescent bulbs were, and then you can go ahead and run those house lights and Christmas tree lights for hours without any issue. Every bulb in this house is an LED, and they don't pull any power at all. You'll be just fine, so you can have a Merry Christmas. So how much did all this cost?
A lot.
Yeah, it was, you know, you had to use certified electricians to put in the solar array, and then You know, you can
You
put in
really
your,
needed one too for the warranty
right,
on the solar.
on the solar, right, you had to have a certified electrician sign off on it. So I contacted several electric companies before I found one that would help me, and he sent 2 guys out. So I had 2 certified electricians on the clock for 4 days. That's how long, and they brought some material with them, some disconnect panels and stuff like that. So that was a hell of a bill. It was shocking how much that cost. You know, I got a little sick to my stomach when he gave me the quote. But 100% of all of that is 30% qualifies for the federal tax credit. So it was $58,000 total, including all of the labor and all the material. And then after the tax credit, it was $40,600. Still a lot of money. Yeah, but a heck of a lot easier to swallow than $58,000. And the thing is, we have a very, very good quality system with good quality material that was either installed with or with the aid of professionals. And so, you know, I sleep well at night knowing that this thing was done right using good equipment. And, you know, that's a big deal. So it's the power plant that's going to run your house. You know, you can't cut corners on it. You can't go cheap. I've seen some amazing videos where I'm like, how is this guy's house not burned down? I know you all have too. But so that's where we're at. It's exceeded my expectations. Things are going very well. I hope this video helped you out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time at Green Shower.